Hi, I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for having me. My name is Leslie Peritano. I'm with AMD, and I wanted to come and talk to you about my career in the video game industry and in technology and such, how I got here, what the opportunities are, how that might help you explore your opportunities, and then also kind of go through careers and things that are available through the friends I know. I'm in the video game industry. I know a lot of publishers and developers. So the games you play, I probably have friends who made them. Now, just so you know, I am at home because of COVID. I'm not in the office with a video crew or anything like that. So you're going to see me do some transitions and stuff like that. So this is going to be an imperfect video, but hopefully with a perfectly wonderful message for you. So I have been in technology. I've had a career in technology for 30 years now. I'm a little bit older than AMD itself is. And for those of you who don't know, AMD makes processors, CPUs, and graphics processors that go in PlayStation, Xbox, and PCs. My favorite platform to play games on is the PC. And I'll get back to that in just a few minutes. But when I was a kid, I didn't have access to those things, to the consoles and to a PC. You know, when I was a kid, I didn't know any gamers because there weren't really any gaming platforms aside from, you know, going to the arcade. I'd drop in a quarter and play Galaga for a few hours many times a week. But I didn't have a gaming console. I didn't have a computer. I think I knew one friend when I was about 13 who had a computer. It wasn't used for gaming. It was before the time that you would use computers for gaming. You know, and then through high school and college, there weren't computers available. So my papers were handwritten or typed on a typewriter. My research was done in a library, a lot of times with 20 books stacked around me that I'm flipping through and writing notes on and stuff like that. So I didn't have access to technology until my last year in college at San Diego State. A lab opened up, and I was able to type a paper and create a game using DOS to write a little hangman game on, you know, just kind of some basic stuff that I didn't really understand the components of the computer or much about it at the time. But still, as I graduated college, the job that I saw that was available for me was within the computer store. I was a cashier, so it didn't require that I knew anything about computers. I could just work as the cashier. But for me, that wasn't really enough. I was really excited to see all those computer components and the software and the things that they could do around me, you know. And so I spent a lot of time, you know, listening and absorbing information. So my career in technology is really based on hands-on experience. My degree was in psychology, but you know, which has helped, I'm sure. But but my career has been based on my hands-on experience and learning how things work. Now I see when I look back on my career that it's like a path that I'm walking down, and as I'm walking down, there's these doors that open, and I open this door, and there's, you know, a cashier position in a computer store, and I was young and it looked like fun, and so I entered. And then that allowed me to see, oh, there's different aspects here of things that I can do. And I quickly moved in the position of buying the parts that are needed, the software and the hardware, learning about what those were, ultimately running the computer store and the service center, you know, and then moving to Stanford University, where I ran the computer store and service center there as well. Now, some of the things that I did, because, you know, there were definitely times where things were overloaded, a lot of demand was happening, especially at the beginning of the end of the school year, people needed tech support and such. So I would go in and swap out parts or repair parts, do different things like that within the service center. And I really learned what the parts of the computer were there. And about how they worked and how they function. And that kind of put me on the path of enjoying building my own PCs. And then in the meantime, my career moved to Apple. I was at Apple for a while. And then ultimately, a little over 16 years ago, I entered the gaming industry. And I've spent my time primarily working with developers and publishers on how to integrate technology into the games, the hardware technology into the software aspect of their games. And then how do you tell the world about it? So there's just kind of both those two pillars in my career. And then a little over, or about 5 years ago, I started working for AMD, where I've continued working with publishers and developers on technology, and including on the virtual reality side of things. I worked with Oculus for a bit in the early days about how to leverage the PC technology with the Oculus Rift headsets, and then also making sure that our PC technology did work with those headsets, and so the aspects around there. But then I've also because of, and looking back in my career, because a lot of the times in those early years, I was the only girl in the room, and at 4'11" at that, it was hard, or it was easy to miss me visually, right? To just not see me because I'm little. But, people in the room heard me because I'm loud, so there was that. But I was the only one in the room. And, in building PCs and such, I realized that was a way to reach out to other women to say, hey, you can do this. You can join this industry. You can build PCs. You can play games. You can do all that stuff. And this is, quite a while ago. And, but it kind of created my hobby of building PCs. And so since then, I've built PCs for famous people like Wil Wheaton and Penn Jillette of Penn and Teller, and Randy Pitchford, of CEO of Gearbox. So for a variety of people, and then also for influencers and with influencers. So, I did, and then also people in general. I did stream. I stream as a hobby of showing people how to build PCs and going through all the steps and the components and stuff like that. I would do it even with a father-daughter team that I'd met. They're like, hey, can you help us build a PC? The daughter is 11, really wanted to do it. So through Discord, because of COVID, did a video, COVID and distance, did a video and just kind of guided her through how to build her PC, and because the dad had also never built one before either. And at the end of a few hours, she had a really cool PC that she's able to play games on. She's also an illustrator, so she creates her art on there, etc. So let me show you a little bit about PC building here. Here we go. Just so you know, the parts that are required right here for building a PC, it's not too many parts are needed. The case, is kind of based on what you want it to look like, right? Your colors and whether or not it has lights in there and different things like that. And then the motherboard, you just want to make sure fits in that case and matches the CPU. I did bring some of the parts with me here. Well, I mean, I have them with me because we already discussed them at my home office. Here is a motherboard. So this is kind of everything's going to plug into here and communicate with each other, kind of like the central nervous system, essentially. I mean, everything communicates through here and plugs in to here, Now, it looks complex, but it's really easy to work with. And I'll tell you why. When I was a kid, and there was something called Garanimals, and it was around clothing, where there were elephants and giraffes and lions and such, different monkeys and whatever, right? And so if you had a shirt that had an elephant on it and a pants that had an elephant, then you had a match. But if you had an elephant and a lion, you didn't have a match. And the motherboard is kind of the same way. There's going to be connections that go into these different parts. Like here's where the graphics card goes. Here's where the CPU goes, right here, right? And there's really only one place for each of these parts to fit. So you can't really get it wrong. So even though it looks complex, it's not as complex as it seems. And my point there is you can do it. You can build a PC. I also have with me a graphics card. So this plugs into that motherboard as well. This is a Radeon 5700 XT. I have a hard drive that also plugs into the motherboard. So everything plugs into the motherboard, and it's really easier than you would think to put together. I do have videos and streams that I do, but there's a lot of resources out there. If you want to see what works together, there's something called PCPartsPicker.com. That's a place that checks parts that you're looking at getting. I put lists out there, so you're welcome to reach out or do a search in my name to see. There we go. To see what works and what doesn't. But it's pretty easy. So I challenge you at some point, whether it's today or a few years from now, some point during your educational time, build a PC, and it's a great experience. It helps you learn about the components. But I think at the end of the day, for me, I play games and I work and do emails and whatever on something that I built. And let me show you here what I am working on today. Oops. There we go. This is my PC. This is what I'm capturing this video on right now, what I'm talking to you through. This is it running live. I've got 7 fans in there. This is more complex than the list that I put there. It has liquid cooling. So where it said CPU cooler, I decided to make my own. And so that's why it looks so complex. I cut the tubes and I filled in the liquid and I set a reservoir in there. So there's all these parts that in general you don't need when you're building computers. But I've had so much experience doing it. I've built so many PCs that now I can have fun doing something as complex with this. I named her the one-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater. So so there you go. That's my PC that I'm on right now. Now, let's end with, what careers are available. I talked about my path and opening doors and things like that. And so my other challenge for you is as you're going through school, and you see different classes available, computer programming, illustration and graphics, sciences, mathematics, et cetera, et cetera. Open those doors and just kind of check it out and see if you like what you see in there, because there's probably, the way I see it, unless, aside from the medical field, just about anything you do has a path in the gaming and entertainment industry. You can go from the hardware side of things. Somebody needs to design the Xbox and all the functionality of it. Somebody needs to design the graphics card and the motherboard, what it looks like, what the processors do in there. So there's that aspect of it. There's the software aspect of it. Coding, obviously everybody knows, computer programming and coding, that you need coding to create games with, right? But there's a lot more that you can do as well. You could design the overall aspect of the game. You could look at the gameplay aspect. How does it work? What between the keyboard and the controller and the game itself? How do you access the inventory? What does the inventory look like? With the user interface and all of that. You could look at on the mathematical side of things. If you like finance, every gaming company, every hardware company needs accountants and financial analysts. If you like the marketing side of things, there's obviously web design and web functionality, the different interactive pieces of that. There is research that is needed, marketing research. Every game company needs to know who their audience might be when they're about to make a game available for people to play. What age groups might play it, and who's it appropriate for there. What kind of mechanics are they looking for in the game? Who's their audience in terms of multiplayer and cosplay, and the genre that they're looking at. How big is the audience there? And then and what kind of topics people like these days. Like Assassin's Creed Valhalla just came out with a Viking, historical Viking theme. So there's market research that needs to be done. There's lawyers that are needed if you like law. If you like the idea of what does a character look like? Is this character, maybe it's a dragon and with big wings, or maybe it's a blue alien from Mars or whatever. What do they look like? What do their hands look like? What do their feet look like? Or do they have that? And what kind of things do they carry with them? Is it a weapon or a tool or whatever? There's environmental artists, and all of that. So artistry and computer graphics is a big thing. You could look at audio aspects. There's audio aspects in a game, the sound and what kind of sounds are used and where a sound's coming from and the different technologies around sound. So there's all kinds of opportunities. If there's something that you're interested in, likely it's something that the game industry and even the entertainment industry, as I've said, gaming is a form of entertainment, would use that. There's motion capture and things like that, and the technology around motion capture and video editing, and there's so much that you can do. So explore what you like while you're in school now. Take those math classes, take those illustration classes, whatever sounds interesting to you. See what you like, and I'm willing to bet you'd be able to find a career in gaming. So I encourage you, walk your path, find things that you're interested in, and then build a PC, something that you're proud of at some point in your educational time. And with that, I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's been a pleasure, and I hope I've inspired you. My name is Leslie Peritano. I go by Love Laugh Leslie online. I'm easy to find. Feel free to reach out if you're looking for any more discussion on building PCs or careers in gaming. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.